and a very warm welcome to our 100th Security Thought Leadership webinar. And who would have thought we got to 100? So if you're joining us for the first time today, where have you been for the last year? You've missed out on 99 webinars. And I'll tell you what, it's been quite a year. Just got a few stats for you. We've had 5,300 individuals join our thought leadership webinars from 118 countries. We've fielded some like 2,000 questions. We've had 350 international panelists. We've had 75 hours worth of live recordings, which have been watched by 10,000 times. So extremely, extremely influential. And I've got to tell you why we've chosen for this topic today, our 100th topic, is we've chosen something that I think is really, really important. As a criminologist by background, and with security being my world, one of the most interesting and underutilized factors, it strikes me, is how we build in the type of expertise that offenders bring into improving security. Because in my experience, when I speak to offenders, they are very, very good at pointing out security weaknesses. And indeed, one of the things that I do with the two people we're about to meet is we go stealing together. They're called penetration tests. We go and steal, and then we give back the goods, and then we explain how we did it and why we did it. Sometimes we even go and meet the staff and get their involvement in what could have been done to prevent it. It's extremely powerful stuff. It generates extremely good ideas, which often doesn't mean buying more security. It's about making things work. So what we're going to do today is we're going to hear from two people who've had an extensive career in crime. They were in prison as teenagers and were in and out all their lives. But they're crime-free now, at least that's what they tell me, and I believe them. And we're going to meet them. Their names are Kent and Andy, and they said to me they want you to excuse their haircuts. Kent and Andy, welcome. How are you both?
Hi, thank you. Good to see you.
Okay, really good. Well, look, let's just go through, first of all, give the audience a perspective on this. Kent, can you just explain briefly the sort of main offences that you've been involved with in your career?
Theft and fraud mainly.
Yeah, theft and often you.
Deception, I say.
Yeah, and you spend a lot of time in retailers, so you spend a lot of time in different retail establishments.
Yeah.
And Andy, yours is theft, but also a bit mixed over time, really.
Kind of run the gamut a bit, yeah. Theft mainly, nothing violent. A lot of fraud when I was younger. There was some burglary once I ended up on the drugs and that. So yeah, so theft, fraud, burglary, but you know, avoiding the violent scene.
Okay, and so you both went to prison as teenagers, right? You went through the sort of youth custody. Ken, why do you think that didn't put you off? I mean, were you scared when you first found out you were going to go to youth custody?
To be totally honest, for a little while, but when you get there, you just realise it's. With my experience, there's no deterrent really. There's no rehabilitation. So it's literally a revolving door. I think it's just you meet other people that teach you how to do other things. Really, there's no, like I say, no rehabilitation to deter you from doing it. As soon as you get out of the gate, you just go back to doing it again. So that's my experience of it.
What about you, Andy? So go back to the first time you went to youth custody as a teenager, right? Were you scared?
Yes, obviously. Anyone who says they're not, you know, I'm talking rubbish. I'm a bit older. I went to the shock treatment. I went to detention centre or ball store, whatever it was called. You know, it was kind of run like a boot camp, military boot camp. And at the end of the day, I was scared of authority and I had a respect for authority before I went there. And although I was only there for a short period of time, I lost all that respect because they just treated you like an animal and then kicked you out, you know. And what he's saying is, although they have over the years changed the system in prison, I mean, it's gone from inhumane to like, you know, humane. They do say there's rehabilitation, but the funding doesn't stretch to it. Yeah. Prisons are all overcrowded. Yeah. The wages they offer the people who are coming supposed to teach you all these courses, these magical courses that you see in the prospectus when you get there, they're offering the same wages as the normal sector. So, you know, why would people come into prison with a lot of ignorant people and, you know, when they don't need to? So half the time you'll find that you'll sign up for a course I mean, there's been times I've done a sitting guilty motor mechanics, you know, when they did start that, I mean, they started trying to rehabilitate people. They brought in a incentive and earn privileges scheme. So you behave yourself, you get a little bit more. You know, they've done away with the old slop out. You know, you get a toilet and a telly and that now, but you know, that's only if you behave yourself. There's stuff that they can take away from you now. So there's an incentive to behave, an incentive to get educated, an incentive to go to work. But the education policy is shot through because there's not enough funding to do it.
Okay. Let me come to so if you'd like to ask a question, audience, if you use the question and answer button at the bottom of your screen, I'll endeavour to get to you. There's a question here from Sarah Whitehead. She sent it in advance, and I'll come to you first, Kent. And she says, Kent, was there anything in your childhood at any point that could have kept you from falling into a criminal lifestyle?
To be totally honest, I don't think I had a very good upbringing with my mother. Was a brilliant mother, but my father was in the army for 22 years, and when he came out, he was very regimented, and that's how we clashed. And I was on the street from an early age of. I left home when I was 14, so obviously I fell in with the wrong crowd, and I take full responsibility for everything I've done. But my father was very violent, and it just stemmed from there, really. I hate to blame it on my father, but I just think if I'd had a better sort of, you know, better chance at things, I might not have gone down that route. But
I mean, at the age of 12, Kent, were you misbehaving at school? Were you a troublemaker at school?
Yeah.
Okay.
I've since been diagnosed with autism, but back when I was 12, I was just seen as a naughty child.
And so if I'd have told you at 12, you're going to end up in youth custody, in youth prison, and you're going to go through the system, would you have been shocked?
No. My teachers used to say that to me from 12, 13. And I used to laugh it off, but I did used to think to myself, maybe they're right, you know.
Okay.
I laugh, but I laugh nervously. I should have knuckled down more at school, but I didn't mess around. But now they do take teaching is a lot better now at school. When I was at school, you was just chucked out of class and chucked out of school. And now they tend to like try and see what the problem is and try and help the children more now. But
okay, Andy, if I can ask you the same question, just Andy, anything in your childhood, because you also had a bit of a troubled relationship with us, with a family-wise, didn't you?
Yeah, pretty much the same. I mean, my dad wasn't around, but he left when I was 2, which I didn't remember. My mum brought us up. And she got married again when I was, well, she, you know, I mean, don't get me wrong. My mum brought us up. She was a bit distant because she was working all the time, and we went to a childminder's after school. You know what I mean? And like, you know, she was paying for her house, which I didn't realise when I was younger. She married a guy when I was 12, coming on 13. And to be honest, he decided he was going to bring his own formula. He's just started trying to discipline me, but you know, physically and stuff like that, grounding me for no reason. My mum basically let me do what I wanted to do as long as I wasn't bad, and I wasn't a bad kid then, and I was flying through school and everything. But me and him clashed, and it just changed me. Yeah, so I was left home by the time I was 15. Cut a long story short, you know, I was arrested. I went to that detention centre when I was 14. I think when I came out, I never went home again. Do you know what I mean? Me and him clashed. He used to beat me, and I weren't having none of it. He used to ground me, and I was, you know, I just didn't like it. My mum was just busy doing what she was doing, so you know, she left it to him to try and put me in line. But I wasn't out of line until, you know, I don't know. But
here's Sandy. Let me ask you this question. So Keith Ditcham says, what would you say now, knowing what you do now, Andy, to your younger self at 14? I'll come to you for the same question. What would you say to yourself?
To me?
Yeah,
I'd say to myself, stay in school, because I literally found school too easy. I was always marked down because I didn't put any effort in. Because I didn't put any effort in, I could just do it all literally in registration in the morning. Here, there's your homework, and revise for a test on the day, and probably get 90% in it. So I found it easy, and I thought I knew everything that I needed to know by the time I was 14 or 15. And this guy weren't going to beat me into submission. So I left. But what I would say is, stay in school. And I say it to all, you know, I say it to my children, I say it to everyone who's young, get your qualifications, even if you can't see the point of them. Yeah, even if you think, well, I'm never going to use this, which, you know, I'm sure every teenager goes through. Why would I need to do it? But there was no one to guide me. I didn't have that. You know, my mum was busy working, paying for everything, and yeah, stay at school, do your qualifications, because especially now, if you're not part, if you're not part of the basically the status quo now, you're basically not going to get anywhere, because the.
Let me stop you there, Andy. Let me come to Kent. Kent, same question to you. Talking to yourself when you were knowing what you do now, Kent, to your 14-year-old self, what would you say to that young man?
Listen, I don't know everything. Stay in school. I used to enjoy school. I loved school, but I knew everything. I used to do the exams at the end of the year, and the teachers thought I was cheating, so they marked me down because I was listening to stuff subconsciously, but I was messing about. And also, I regret not joining the army. I would have liked to have joined the army. So that's what I would have told myself.
Okay. Let's go to some other questions. Quite a lot coming in now. Do keep your questions coming in. We'll endeavour to half them. Question, Dennis Chet from Canada, former panellist, said to you both, if prison wasn't a deterrent, what would have stopped you, do you think? Kent, could anything have stopped you along the way?
Anything that would harm my family. Say there was a danger to my family, but other than that, to be honest, no. The money was too much of a draw, really. If I'm honest, no.
But when you're stealing, though, when you're out there committing these offences, Kent, are you not all the time worried about getting caught?
No, you have to put it at the back of your mind, because if you're doing that, you'll look nervous and you'll drive yourself mad. So, myself, I used to go in there with a gung-ho attitude, and I'd worry about it. Like if I got caught, then I'd worry about it. But at the time, I didn't worry about it at all.
What about you, Andy? This is would anything have stopped you along the way?
I'd like to think yes, if I had the opportunities, you know what I mean. But it was just, you know, I was, like I said, I left home very early. By the time I was 16, I had a family to worry about, you know, and then all that goes along with that, relationships and dealing with bringing up kids and dealing with a relationship. At that age, I thought I knew everything. I knew nothing. So, you know, it's hard to say. I mean, I'd like to say yes, you know, but I just didn't have the opportunity to, you know, I needed to provide. Do you know what I'm saying? And what was on offer legally for someone my age with zero qualifications wasn't going to cut it. See what I'm saying? And there was you know, easier ways at the time to get money. And no, I didn't worry about getting caught. You don't think like that. You trust your instincts. Sometimes I don't worry about getting caught. If I'm going to do something and my instincts tell me not to do it, I won't do it. You know what I mean?
Because I should tell people, when we go out stealing together, just if you just joined us, Ken and Andy and Tony and myself, we are employed by people to go out and steal and test security. And of course, you did say then, Andy, that when you're going it, you do feel the sort of the tension. Yeah. So it's a real life recreation, and things do put us off, don't they? They do put you off along the way. It's just you're not oblivion.
No, I trust my instincts. You know, everybody gets, anyone who says they don't get scared, but that's, you know, to quote a cliche, you know, without fear, there's no courage. You see what I'm saying? You just have to overcome that. Anything, you know, I was nervous about this now, but you can't go, I'm not doing that. You have to do it. You know, you can't think of the worst. You always got to think of the positive.
Okay. So John Rees has asked this sort of similar question. So you said, Ken, one of the things about crime is that it was very lucrative. Your point as well, Andy, it was very lucrative for you.
Yes.
And so I guess that's a very difficult thing to turn down when you've got a criminal conviction when you're young, when the legal opportunities are blocked to you, and you know a criminal life is very, very lucrative.
Yeah. And you've already got responsibilities. You know, you come out of prison, you've been in prison for a while, and you've got kids and people. Even if your relationship's broken down, you've still got them responsibilities. And to those people, You've been away, and now you're back. You know, you're responsible to make up for the time you haven't been there, and to, you know, it just you know, it doesn't help.
I mean,
There's no, you come out just basically worse off than when you went in, you know, and you've still got to overcome all those hurdles.
Okay, so question for each of you then. I'll do separately now. A question from Michael Haley, Kent. Why did you choose the frauds that you did do? Of course, one answer is it was damn lucrative for you.
yeah, well, obviously I fell into it by accident, really. It was.
Just explain what you did, because you were quite prolific, weren't you?
Yeah, basically, I used to go into a certain store. I would pick up some items from the shelf. I would take them back to the till. I'd say, listen, I want to return these. They're not the right ones. And they'd say, oh, yeah, sure. But I said, I've lost my receipt. So I would then leave them items on the till and go and get what I wanted. And then I would pay some money on top, and then they would give me a receipt back. And then I'd exchange it. I'd exchange it over, and then they'd give me a receipt, which I could then go and take back for cash. Which, when I worked it out, I was thinking, blimey. And it just spurred off to I went all around the country doing it. And one shop in particular they had their own team out looking for me to stop it.
Because you were just so lucrative.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting. And Andy, a question for you from James Makin, I think probably name. Sorry, James. Do you think violence and crime on TV, and especially on the young, either affected you, and do you think it affects other people, the violence and crime on TV?
No, TV doesn't affect me. I only watch entertainment stuff. I don't, you know. You
can see how it does.
I can see how it does, but I mean, you know, to be honest, you know, if you've got half a brain, you can separate, you know, fantasy from reality. Yeah. There's a lot of stuff on TV that influences people. You know, that, you know, the worst thing on TV is these perfect relationships that you see. So, you know, people expect a lot from life and relationships that aren't really there, and then that puts a lot of pressure on things. You know, and you know, it's just no. I don't think. Basically, in a nutshell, TV never affected me. Anything like that. It was just a need to, you know, and my own conscience, or whatever you want to call it, my own need to provide, and my own need to take pressure off myself by feeling that I'm doing the right thing, even though it's a warped reality. But you know, when I was young, I needed to provide. If I was doing, even though I'm risking my liberty, I'm doing it for a good reason, a noble reason, yeah, like Robin Hood style. But you know, it's not. Yeah, you see that your kids need you there. I realise in the end that they need you more than they need, you know, £150 trainers and, you know, the name brand this, that, and the other. So, you know, it's a bit of a, yeah. So no, TV, no. And, you know, I can't see how it would influence me, no.
I mean, I think with TV, if you watch something on TV, you still got, and then think, oh, I'm going to go and do that. You still got to have the nerve to go out and do that. And I think 90% of people, just because they've seen that on TV, I don't think, well, I could go and do that. I could go and kill someone or do something, or, you know, you still have to have the mindset, I think, to do something like that. But
yeah, okay, interesting. And here's a question coming from quite a few people. I mean, Richard Stanley says, what was the turning point to going straight? And quite a few have said, you know, what made you stop? So let's just ask you, Philip Juhaz says, what made you stop? So from your point of view, Ken, what has made you stop? I mean, so you've been out of prison, what, about 18 months now?
Yeah. Unfortunately, I was recalled to jail from an old offence because I fell out with my probation officer. But I've been in a year-long relationship now. That's helped, and also from stopping drugs and my son, really. Main thing.
When you say my son, what do you mean by that?
It took me to like Andy said, rather than keep giving him money, stuff like that, and keeping him happy by new trainers, he needed me there. And the last jail sentence I did, which was 2 years, really broke him a little bit, and that hurt me. So it took me to realise that I'd hurt my son a lot to stop all this.
Okay, mate. And what about you, Andy? What was the trigger point for you to say giving up? Why have you stopped?
Same thing, just age really. Stopping the drugs, yeah, and you see things at a different perspective. And the kids are grown up now, you know what I mean? And it's like when they start saying, well, when they start calling you names, I'm not going to swear. Do you know what I mean? And say you're just when they're old enough, say, well, Dad, why are you doing that nonsense? Do you know what I mean? You can't explain to them I'm doing it for you, especially. So yeah, just basically age and just basically, you know, stopping the drugs and seeing things a little more clearer. And
child tells you to grow up.
just when your kid tells you to grow up, that's a leveler. That wakes you up a little bit. So yeah.
Did you? I mean, an interesting point from Tracy Rogers. Then, Ken, I'll come to you first. You mentioned the point about your son. Did you not consider this along the way? Tracy's asking the impact you had on your family.
Always. I know I say that quite flippantly, but it's. It was so much pressure to get the money. What I thought to get the money for paying bills, paying stuff. This is not me blaming it on my ex-partner, but there was so much pressure to get the rent, get the stuff. She always used to say to me, "I hate you, offending, I hate." But while the money was there, she was okay. But I hated that my mum. It did affect my mum a lot as well, but. Sadly, my mum used to say to me, well, every time you're in jail, I know where you are and I know you're safe. So that hit me quite hard. But did
they visit you? Did they visit you, Ken? No. Your mum and your family?
No.
Is that your choice or theirs?
Theirs, really.
Okay. And Eddie, what did you along the way consider the impact you were having on your family?
I did, but, you know, as Kent says, and it's not blaming anyone, yeah, you know, you make decisions, yeah, I make my own decisions. I realise that as I've got older and all the long times I've had to sit and contemplate, I realise you can't blame anyone else for your own actions, yeah? Yeah, at the end of the day, ultimately, every decision rests with you. But when you're younger, you don't see that. Yeah, what you do is, all right, that's what you want. You know, when someone's screaming at you, I want this, I want that, I need this, I want that, you're used to say, then you know, well, I'll go and get it then, whatever way possible. If I get in trouble, you know, so be it. And you can sort of half blame it on somebody else, but it's not the case, is it? Really and truly. Yeah.
Okay.
You do what you do, yeah, and that's what it took me
until you realise.
It took me, I don't know, maybe till I was 40 to realise that, you know, no one tells me what to do. Ultimately, I do my own thing, and I'm not blaming anyone else for that. You know, some people could have been more supportive. People could have been a little bit less, you know, insistent or aggressive with me, but you know, ultimately, it's down to me. And you know, really, no one's ever forced me to do anything. So I realise that now, and yes, I thought I was doing the right thing for my kids at the time, innit? I thought I was getting, they need this, they need that. So that's what I thought because I was young and naive, and I didn't have a father around to tell me any different.
Yeah. Okay. Question now. Here's a question for you both. Now, when we go out stealing, just to repeat, if you've just joined us, we get paid to go stealing in order to give advice, and we've done it quite a lot along the way. When you're both with me, one of the things that when we're doing it and we're analysing it, you're both able to analyse sort of a wide variety of risks and look at the things that do bother you. And some of the sort of big things don't bother you too much. There's a lot of behaviours around that do bother you. And one of the questions we've got from Ontario Richardson is, I'll come to that in a minute, from Mike Kroll, was, did you learn a lot about how to commit crime from prison itself?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
So this idea that prisons are a university of crime is true in your view?
Oh, absolutely.
100%.
Okay. I suppose it's slightly inevitable, isn't it? I mean, there's no other way around that. But do you think that having been in prison, when you came out the first time, you were a lot more informed about how to commit offences?
Yeah. Maybe not for the young offenders, no, because it was a bit, in my experience, young offenders were a bit standoffish with each other. There wasn't so much of the camaraderie, really. But I'd say as the sentences went on, to me, it got a bit more like a school.
Yeah, young offenders, you're just all preening and, you know, preening and strutting around, trying to prove, you know what I mean, trying to keep everyone at arm's length. But, you know, as you get older, you sit and talk and have a cup of tea and talk about this, that, and everyone, you know, once you get to know someone, then you'll start sharing stories and you learn a lot of things.
When we first were young offenders, there was no mobile phones to keep in contact with people. So when we got older, you get contacts and you ring each other when you get out.
Yeah. Okay. So you make friends in there.
Yeah.
Did you two meet in prison?
No,
No.
Okay. Did you know one another before prison or not?
I knew Tony. I met Tony first, and I met Andy.
Okay, so Tony's the other
Yes.
person who comes with us when we go out. Okay. Here's a thing. How do you choose your targets? Now, when we go out, we speak a lot about this, right? About what makes it easy and what makes it difficult. Why did you choose when you were stealing, Ken, you initially, please don't say the name of the store, but you went to one store in particular.
Yeah.
And why did you choose that store in particular?
Lack of security, the refund policy, and the items were easy to get.
Okay, yeah, okay. Just out of interest, I've also been back with Tony, who's the other one. Is we went back to a major retailer where we advised them on their refund policy. And in fact, you and I have spoken about doing this again, Ken, haven't we? Where we spotted a particular problem. Andy, what about you? How did you choose the targets? Where did you find out the information about who was easy and what was worth doing?
Depends what we were doing. I mean, when I was doing fraud, it was a long time ago when it used to have a checkbook and a card, you know, and it was just signatures and there was no electronic anything, you know. So basically, if the signature was easy enough, then there you go.
What about though? What about when you're doing burglaries though? So how did you choose your?
Well, you've got to look at how many people are over, if there's anyone overlooking. Yeah, you know, I would drive around. I wouldn't be gung ho. One, basically, you've got to go to the right area. There's no point in burgling a council estate. Two, you have a little, you know, if you can have a look, get in there and out without anyone seeing you, you know, you've got to select your targets. I was not into
burgling.
I hated burgling. I was not into confrontation, you know, so I would check I couldn't be seen. I would check no one was in. I would check if something worth going in there for. If I could see something, you know, just to, you know, such like that. So it would just be literally, it'd have to be in the right place, you know, at the right in the right situation, and have the right, you know, the right sort of look to it. You know, I'd only really burgle affluent areas, and you know, back in the day, you could drive out into the country, and I lived sort of on the border of the city and the country. So you drive out into the country, and you can find completely detached places. Although they've got an alarm on, you know, by the time anyone comes to that alarm, you're going to be, you know, miles away. So you could just basically just do a quick. You know, if you look through, and they used to have people with dressers full of silver and stuff like that. You don't have it anymore. Or nowadays, anyone who's got anything valuable has to have insurance, and to get insurance, you have to have top security. So that game's dead, as far as I'm concerned. And plus, you know, I don't do it no more because I haven't got that need. The burglary was the last thing I used to do because I was on drugs. Do you know what I mean? Before that, I was into fraud or maybe a bit of shoplifting. Do you know what I mean? I didn't really want to put myself on offer, but burglary, I'm not really comfortable with, so I'd have to, you know. And then, you know, nowadays it's just nothing in it. It's just, you know, it's not morally right, and it's not financially viable, really.
Okay. So one of the questions I got from Andrea Nietzsche. Now, she was on a webinar a couple weeks ago. Listen to this, boys. Listen to this question. Right, this is how it goes. How are you managing your lives today? You are both smart, articulate, eloquent. I hope you have found a place to put those to good use. So, Ken, have you?
Well, yeah. I mean, luckily, during all of my, I did a college course in painting and decorating. So I've worked a lot of my life, as well as gone into jail to and fro. But yeah, at the moment, because of COVID, we're not doing anything. But my life is a lot better now. I'm in a long-term relationship, and I'm looking to future things to do. So yeah, it's all good in my outlook.
And Andy?
Well, basically, what do I do with this? Yeah,
you work with me.
Yeah, you know, trying to give something back there. I spend a lot of time with my kids. Yeah. COVID sort of way, like, you know, I do bits of work. I have work coming up, you know, decorating. I've always had sort of jobs in that. I haven't got any qualifications. I have got some qualifications actually over the years. What I've got from prison, I've got some sitting girls, I've got some MVQs and that. I did get into support work before, working with ex-offenders and such and vulnerable people. But, you know, that fell through at the end of the day due to the government changing and money being withdrawn because it was kind of half backed by the government. But yeah, once COVID's over, I mean, I started actually this week, I've been painting the outside of a house. So yeah, I don't use my brain as much as I should, but I never have done. But yeah, I keep busy and I'm just glad to be out of prison at the end of the day, you know, doing this, I'm glad to do this sort of stuff. And, you know, and I think it's helpful. It gives me a sense of at least I'm doing something useful with what I've learned over the years, you know what I mean? Because I made a choice to go that way instead of that way. And I've learned a lot down that path that probably can, you know, now I'm back on the right path. It's the only knowledge I've got to share, so I'll share it.
Can I say
I know. Sorry, Ken.
The last time I was in jail, one thing that did put me off about jail recently was I was in quite a high security jail, Belmarsh, in London, and the amount of, I'd say, 18 to 20-year-old kids that are doing life with 20-year tariffs, 30-year tariffs is quite frightening. And I think now it's the rehabilitation thing is worse now than it's ever been, and that is sort of thing I don't want to go anywhere near anymore. I've seen some very intelligent young kids doing 30 years before they go anywhere, and it's quite scary actually.
So, I don't want to get political, but the youth are lost, and there's not really much.
It's terrible, honestly.
You know, stay in school. You can stay in school. You can go to education. You can go do your university. But what do you do after that? Because you know how many graduates are there out of work, and you know. Just things are just heading the wrong way, but I don't want to even go there. We're here to talk about crime here, not politics.
All right, mate. All right, listen.
I'm not holding that much hope for this generation, because they've got less opportunities than we bloody had.
Yes.
Okay. Let's go on to the next question. So Colin Cullerton was asking about retail crime, which of course we've been doing a bit of, and Claire Mayer was saying. When you're selecting a target for theft or fraud, is there anything that puts you off? What are the things that mostly deter you? And of course, we've done a bit of this. And you know what's interesting about you two? All the measures have the potential to bother you. It's just that most of the time, they're not geared up in a way that do bother you. And, you know, it's really interesting when we do these, that so much is going to be spent on more and more security. And the message that we come back with is start using what you got first a lot better.
Yeah.
That seems to be what you say when we go out.
Yeah, well, they what I'm saying is they've got all these measures, but again, it might be all right, you've got a guy standing on a podium when you walk in. He's a bit off-putting, yeah, but you know, he'll lock onto one target. I mean, me and him used to play I'll be the decoy game. I know if I walk in, they're going to lock onto me, and he'll be so locked onto me that he can go and pick up a £300 item and exchange it without a receipt. Yeah, so we used to play. It's just, you know, you mustn't profile. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, you've got cameras in every aisle, so maybe invest in having someone monitoring every aisle. I know it sounds like an expense, but I bet you it'd still be cheaper than what you're losing every day. As they know, the trolleys we've took back in have had a lot of money in them. You see what I'm saying? So
yeah, and of course, the other thing is
someone in an office monitoring the CCTV instead of one guy on the podium who has to react to every alarm that goes off.
But they don't react to every alarm that goes off.
Well, you know, and you know, run about the store, you know, harassing people. Yeah, once he's away, then you know it's a field day for everyone else. So they need to just utilise what they've got a little bit better.
Yeah, I mean, and sometimes it's. I know with on other days, I've gone back and spoken to staff. And when you work with staff and you explain the sorts of things we do, the ideas they come up with are so powerful. You know, about what the sorts of things they can do to impact. I mean, where people come up to you and speak to you, you just don't like it, right? I mean, they come and say, "How you doing?" Neither of you like that.
Oh no! Once you've been spoken to, then you're on there. It's like then you know, like, well, obviously you've been noticed.
Yeah. The point is not to be a chemical, not to be stupid. It's just, you know, I've said to you before, Martin, I can sort of get a sixth sense if everything's okay, just by the way people react when you're walking towards them. If they don't keep eye contact with you or something, you know you're okay.
Yeah, you can see if they're on you, you know they don't come straight at you, but you can see them arranging themselves around the place. You know, so you know a ball.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Let's move on. So thank you for your questions, Keith Kilcaddy. talks about family history and crime. Did you both come from families where crime was commonplace? Was first questions,
No,
and
No.
neither of you did.
no,
Okay. And
I was in the army for a long time, and
so for your families, this must have been quite difficult to accept.
Oh, very. Oh, I
Yeah.
don't really know because, like I said, once I was gone, I was gone.
Yeah,
I don't really
yeah.
have a close relationship. I just fell out. I didn't really fall out with my mum. To be honest, I just resented my mum when I was younger because she was never really there. Yeah, but I didn't know. We weren't living in a council house. She was paying a mortgage on her own. We never got left. I was a latchkey kid. We had a childminder that we went to who actually became my second family. Do you know what I'm saying? Yeah, like my granddad and my nan and granddad, all that, the only ones I actually know are from that family. See what I'm saying? They were so, but you know, my mum was very distant, but only because she was always bloody working. And then she married this guy, and this guy decided that I had too much freedom and I needed to do chores and I needed to, you know, I don't know what he thought, but he come from obviously a different background, and he decided that he was going to tell me that I wasn't going anywhere. And if I asked why, he would say because I said so. And if I said, well, what does that mean? Then I'd get a beating for it. And then he'd padlock me in my bedroom and stuff like that. I just climb out the window.
So let's just update it now. So what about now? Are there people trying to draw you back into crime now, you two?
No one's drawing me anywhere.
Control.
Everybody knows they're not to try and draw me anywhere. Nobody makes me do anything, and they know. Everyone knows better.
And you kept the same, not trying to draw you back?
Yeah, to be honest, I moved out of the town that I had the main trouble with, and I'm 47 years old now, Martin. I know better.
Okay, interesting. So let's just make sure we fit a few questions in. David Gill's got a question. Do you think that had you had a strong role model during your teens, that would actually have made a difference? Because you've both spoken about the lack of one. Just think for a second. Was that a differentiator? Andy first.
100% had no male role model at all, apart from one who just didn't want to talk to me, just wanted to give me corporal punishment. You know what I mean? Just wanted to beat me into a line, and it weren't.
Same as that.
It weren't happening.
I needed a male role model in my life. I used to latch onto my friends' dads quite a lot, which being a bit upsetting, really. But it's like, I definitely lacked a male role model.
What about female role model, though? What about female role model?
My mum was absolutely brilliant. She was the best. I love her to pieces. She did 3 jobs. She did everything, but she wasn't strong. She was so busy, like Andy said. She was working all the time.
No, my mum didn't have time to deal with me.
I realised how much I'd hurt her but she used to switch off to it all, which women are quite good at, I suppose. And no, I mean, I didn't mean to say it like that. It's like
okay.
That's what I meant. It's like they, you know, but I did hurt her, so it's
okay. So the question for you from do you think this is from Radik Havlis, also a former polis? He says, did your all those prisons experiences, all that time in prison, is that the reason you stop now? I mean, there's a tendency, right, to say, oh, no, nothing to do with prison. But of course, when we speak about this off air and, you know, just the three of us, neither of you like prison, right? It wasn't that you were wanting to go back. So is it possible that it did have an effect? You just don't want to go to prison again?
It did, but if I still needed money now, I'd still go and get money. So if I still needed to commit crime, I would commit crime. And that's just being honest. But prison would be a deterrent. I would hate the thought of sitting in a prison cell again tomorrow. We've had this conversation before. Yeah. On our last prison sentence, we did it together, and it was, luckily we were together, but we was like, but I don't think I've got another long prison sentence in me, but that's a good thing. That is a deterrent. But my main deterrent is I've grown up and I've got family, and I'm in a long-term relationship.
To my point of view, yes, it does make a difference. Yeah, I can't justify it to myself anymore. It's just embarrassing, to tell you the truth, you know. And to be honest, nothing's lucrative anymore. You have to go out and work so hard, even to get an illegal pound. Yeah, that is just, it doesn't. The risk doesn't. The risk and reward situations change now. Do you know what I mean? It's just, it's not as easy as it used to be, or as easy as we thought it
I
was.
will say you can find yourself in jail for something you haven't done as well, which is I have done as well. But obviously that's because of my past that the police even thought of me anyway. So, but
yeah, okay,
you never say never that you can end up back in jail, but we don't want to. No.
okay.
That's my first strike as well, so that
Yeah.
puts me off. I'm looking at least 4 or 5 years next time I'll get in trouble. So nah.
Okay. So there's a question from Rachel Lawyer. Just an interesting point about burglary, which a number of the questions are asking, Andy. You said it was morally wrong. You didn't like it. David Lee as well. Would it have been any different to burgle against an organisation? Is that more morally justified?
Yeah, commercial burglaries don't listen. If you've got a conscience, obviously faceless corporations don't really bother you. You know what I mean? You can listen. What I'm saying is, you can justify it to yourself. You can have a little walk to reality. You know, if you're poor and you need money and you got to feed everyone and you ain't got any education, you can talk yourself to, okay, you're taking it from there. You know, they've already got loss written into their budget and so on and so forth. And, you know, everyone tells you, it all passes on and everyone has to pay for it. But all right, it might add a little penny onto everyone's bill. But at least that way, someone's not losing their personal stuff. And, you know, it's not going to break anybody. So, yeah, you can justify robbing an organisation or stealing from an organisation rather than a person.
Okay, a question here from Richard Stanley. You said that crime was lucrative, right? How lucrative was it? Going back in the day, how lucrative was it? Are we talking about, give us some sort of sense.
To be honest with you, I was going into the store that I was going to, I'd say about the late 90s into the 2000s, I could get £700 a day.
Okay, that's a lot of money. Andy?
Well, yeah, going back to the early 90s when we were doing booking card stuff, same as that, you know, a pair of us, probably £1,000 a day, and that was just cashing checks.
Yeah.
And then, you know, burglary was a thing. You know, you could go out in the morning and be back, like, you know, in a couple of hours with 700-800 quid. Do you know what I mean? Basically, you go out, you treat it like a job. You go out early in the morning. If it takes you till 5 o'clock, you know, obviously people are coming home at 5 o'clock, so you're quitting then. But yeah, you know, I don't know. Yeah, between 500 and £1,000 a day was
okay.
Usually the target.
Okay, so it's a final question for you both. Okay, Dr. Ching says, do you regret committing those crimes that you did? Kent, do you regret it?
If I'm honest, some of the crimes against like Andy said, the big corporations, where at the time I had to make that money, I had to make what I was paid, and I regret that lifestyle. I regret that. How can I put it?
Can I say something?
Yeah.
All we've done with the retail fraud and stuff like that was take advantage of loopholes.
Yeah.
Which so-called straight goers do every day with their tax, even high level people, even corporations, right, with their business tax and stuff like that. All we've done was exploited the loopholes. So regret, not really. I regret the time I've done in prison. I regret the time I've had away from my children. But
and any people that got hurt in the,
you know, never hurt anyone doing that.
I never hurt anyone. So
what
if I'm honest, there's regret there, but there's also I did what I had to do. Yeah,
I'll be honest. The fraud, no. The burglary, yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
The burglary, but it is.
Ken and Andy, thank you so much for your time. It has been an absolute pleasure to talk to you. And of course, we have these conversations each time we meet. And I have to say, I get never tired of speaking to you about all this and what we learn. And of course, I think one of the real things is, and maybe it's very difficult for us to put this across in a webinar, is just how much experience you have of crime and what you're able to notice, what you're able to see, what you're able to feed back. And you've certainly done that for us now. So thank you very much indeed. I'm just going to ask you to wait there a second while I just sum up for everyone else in the world. But thank you very much indeed, you two. Thank you very much indeed, the audience, for the for all your questions. I'm sorry I didn't get to everyone, but I tried to cover all the issues at very least. And I'll tell you what we'll be doing. We will be inviting Ken and Andy and Tony back to a future webinar. We'll be looking at these in more detail. But, you know, one of the crucial things you learn from speaking to offenders is we ignore what they've got to say at our peril. And the fact the world does, as always, as a criminologist, has been shocking to me. I can't tell you how much has been part of my learning lessons about how you prevent crime. Understand what people have got to say. And when you get the academic with the practice with the ex-offender, for me, it's the most powerful of all. So retailers out there, listen, observe and take note, and there's a lot to be gained. Okay, just to say to you, Outstanding Security Performance Awards, nominations are open in South Africa, Kenya and Romania, only till the 7th of April in South Africa. They open on the 1st of April in the United States. And look out for the Cyber Oscars coming soon, the cyberoscars.com, if you want to find out more information. Just to let you know, we're not stopping at 100. We're going to go for 200 now. And the 101st starts next Tuesday, when we're talking about agile security and anticipating the unknown. How good is it, technology, and what are its limits? So we'll be looking at some of what's been going on in the technology world, and we'll be asking these questions, these critical questions about what can we learn today in order to make a better type of security tomorrow. So as I've ended every one of the first 99 webinars, I'll end this webinar in the same way to say thank you very much indeed to you, the audience, for questions. Thank you very much indeed to Hannah and Christine in the background. A special thanks to Andy and to Kent. And wherever you are in the world, till we meet again, stay safe.
No, thanks.
Thank you.